All right, this is kind of crazy. So it's no secret that the US government does not like Bitcoin. And it doesn't like Bitcoin because Bitcoin challenges the idea that money should only be controlled by central banks and governments. So just last week, this was brought to my attention about a US senator that doesn't like Bitcoin, who just wants to get rid of it completely, who was also exposed for having been paid by special interest groups that are in direct competition with Bitcoin. Now, I'm not a political channel, I don't talk about politics, but I thought this was interesting to show you this concept of lobbying, which literally means to influence the votes of legislators in a lobby. So if you're saying to yourself, Andre, I don't care about Bitcoin, I like Dogecoin, that's fine, because there's a few things you have to know. There are two things that is stopping mainstream adoption, and the first of these is energy efficiency. That's because hedge funds, for example, which have billions and billions of dollars in their bank accounts, are waiting to invest this money into crypto once it becomes compliant. If it's not energy compliant, they won't even consider investing in it. And the second thing that's holding back mainstream adoption is favorable government regulation. Now you might be saying to yourself, Andre, I don't want Bitcoin to be regulated, I want it to become free money. But the truth is, in order for Bitcoin to be involved or to be integrated into the plumbing system of the financial markets, it has to be regulated. That's because people want to feel safe and protected that their investments are going to be backed by the US government. If it's not going to get mainstream adoption. Now, anybody who stands in the way of that progress is going to feel the wrath of the internet. So let's find out what happened. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the truth experiment. So let's just jump right into it, because this idea of lobbying corrupts our political process. And the way it works is corporations pay off the politicians to, instead of representing our interest, the interest of the people that elected these politicians into office in the first place, to represent the interest of big business or corporate interest, or sometimes called special interest. And that's what happened to Senator Brad Sherman, who's a US senator from California. He's a Democratic congressman who's been trying to get rid of Bitcoin since as early as 2019. So let's take a look at what he has to say, because maybe we can understand where he's coming from. It's a little bit dry and boring, but I promise I'll break it down and make sense of it.
I look for colleagues to join with me in introducing a bill to outlaw cryptocurrency purchases by Americans, so that we nip this in the bud, in part because not an awful lot of our international power comes from the fact that the dollar is the standard unit of international finance and transactions. Clearing through the New York Fed is critical for major oil and other transactions.
So here Mr. Sherman is asking all his politician friends to join him in voting against Bitcoin because he's afraid that Bitcoin is going to replace the dollar standard, which according to him is how the US gets most of its power. Now this next part is going to blow your mind, because there's some truth behind why he's so afraid. You might have heard of something called the petrodollar, which is sometimes referred to as slick Bens or greasy greens or oily bacons. No, I just made that up. The petrodollar is something that gives the US a ton of power because of oil. Think about it. How does one measure the value of oil? You might have heard of all these conspiracy theories about the United States always wanting oil. But that's because before the dollar, we used this. This is a bar of gold I bought off Amazon for $10. But that's because countries needed and still need a ton of oil, and we used to use gold to buy that oil. But in 1971, we came off the gold standard, and that's because we made a deal with all the oil-producing countries in the world that we would give them protection in exchange to buy their oil exclusively for the dollar. And here's what that did. It allowed the US to pot of greed, draw two cards, magician of faith, get it all back, and then rinse and repeat, pot of greed, draw two cards, magician of faith, get it back, an infinite amount of times. Like 3 people got that reference, I'm sorry. What this essentially means is that it gives the United States free reign to do anything it wants because we have access to the Federal Reserve, which means we control the printing press that literally prints more dollars, while other countries cannot print more dollars. And because if you need oil, which of course you do, you need to go through the dollar and convert your currency to more dollars, or if you can't, you just need to buy more dollars. That's what makes the petrodollar so powerful and what gives the US so much influence over global politics. That in the military. But it's like, imagine if Chuck E. Cheese tokens became the world reserve currency. Chuck E. Cheese would become very powerful. Pineapple pizzas for everyone. And that's truly where Bitcoin becomes the biggest threat, because the moment the dollar is replaced as the world reserve currency and we use Bitcoin to denote commodities like oil, that's when the US government believes that we will lose that link to oil and will lose the supremacy, and that's when you'll see the big shift in power around the world. Because right now, if you don't play nice with the US, we won't trade with you, we won't buy your stuff, we won't sell you our toys. Wait a minute, that country's not using dollars to buy their oil. Looks like they need freedom. If I disappear, it's gonna be because of this video. Anyway, that's where the senator's coming from. Let's take a look at what else he said.
So whether it is to disempower our foreign policy, our tax collection enforcement, or our traditional law enforcement, the purposes of cryptocurrency, the advantage it has over sovereign currency is solely to aid in the disempowerment of the United States and the rule of law.
So here he's reiterating what I said, that it goes against our interest to get rid of the petrodollar and that Bitcoin is used to evade taxes. And unfortunately, he didn't provide any proof behind why he thinks that, and that statement is not any more true than saying cash exists only to evade taxes, because if that's the case, then why does cash exist? The truth is, most people who buy Bitcoin, including myself, are not investing in it because we want to evade our taxes. There's no truth to that statement, and unfortunately, I don't have any proof for that either, which is why you have to understand that for governments to really understand and accept and properly regulate crypto, we have to do more than just sit there and hold it for no reason. That's why I believe Ethereum will at some point overtake Bitcoin. Now, I love Bitcoin and I even have way more Bitcoin than Ethereum, but have you ever been to a Bitcoin convention? It's like, hey, you got some Bitcoin? Yeah, me too. Good talk. Ethereum, on the other hand, is like, check out my CryptoKitty. Check out my smart contracts app I just built. Or my favorite, I built a futurarchy mechanism inspired by Robin Hanson for organizational governance via prediction markets so I can create a truly autonomous governance model. Seriously, try reading one of Ethereum's research papers. It's like hieroglyphics. It doesn't make any sense. It's worse than trying to understand the repo market, and I just wish Vitalik Buterin, the creator of Ethereum, would come on and help us explain everything. But the point of what I'm trying to say is that trying to ban people that are collecting CryptoKitties or that are playing games through Ethereum is a lot harder to ban from a social impact perspective than something people are just speculating and holding on for absolutely no reason. And the other thing Mr. Sherman said is that it's another way to evade taxes, which again has no proof or merit to it. To live in a lawless world, I think, is just over dramatizing. And besides, people using cash is objectively used in far more illicit transactions than Bitcoin is, so none of it makes sense. But that's where Mr. Sherman is coming from. So now let's take a look at what he said this past week, because it's even worse, except this time, people followed the money.
Those in the cryptocurrency space are naturally pro-crypto. Their fortunes, their relevance, their fame depends upon the success of cryptocurrency.
So that's a sick burn, Mr. Senator. Don't know why that was necessary, but
Cryptocurrency is something you can bet on. But if people want to have the animal spirits to take risks, I'd prefer them invest in equity markets to support the building of American companies, or the California lottery to support the schools in my state.
So here he's saying, if you have the investment risk tolerance to gamble your money into something as risky as Bitcoin, then I guess go for it. Keep the change, you filthy animal. The other thing he encourages people to invest their money into is the equity markets, which is the stock market, which I like, which I encourage people as well. But I think he's confusing monetary value with societal value. And that's because a lot of the company's profits go towards rebuying more of that company's shares, which decreases the amount of shares outstanding in the market, so it creates artificial scarcity, and that's what pushes the price of that stock higher, which yes, creates shareholder value for people that are invested, but not necessarily translating into societal value. I think fewer companies than most actually create true value for society. And the other thing he says is, help me out by putting your money into something that helps my cause, which is fine, but I think it feels a little bit irresponsible to give people the advice of just putting their money into the lottery where your odds of winning is 42 million to 1. That's for California state lottery, rather than sensible advice like maybe dollar cost average into Bitcoin, where the average annual return has been 200% per year. So I guess it kind of makes sense if you don't think about it.
Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile. So if one person makes $1 million and retires at age 45 and 9 lose $100,000, Coinbase makes money.
Coinbase makes money? Not by my count.
The one millionaire goes on TV and says how wonderful it is, and 9 others do not retire in dignity, but instead become eligible for Medicaid.
Well, you see, Senator, it's just like my friend Pro the Doge says. It's only because they paper-handed. They bought at the top, they didn't buy the dip, and they just didn't have the diamond hands, and so they sold at the bottom. In all seriousness, he's saying that in order for one person to make money, there have to be 9 other people that have to lose money, and that is true to the same degree that it's true for the stock market if you're somebody who likes to day trade stocks. Because if you're looking for short-term profit, then he's absolutely right. Somebody has to lose the equivalent of whatever it is you are making. But if you're investing in this stuff long-term, then it's beneficial for everyone. It's a net benefit because the adoption grows, the network grows, and it becomes more than just something people speculate and hold for no reason, because there's actual use cases and people are using it. They're sending it across the world almost instantaneously and immutably, and that has value beyond it being just a zero-sum game.
Cryptocurrencies can ultimately be successful only if they're successful currencies. And evading the know your customer rule is the one thing that cryptocurrencies have as an advantage to the US dollar.
And here he's factually wrong, because Bitcoin has 0 advantage over cash in terms of tax evasion. That's because anytime you send Bitcoin to someone else, it leaves behind a digital fingerprint that you can trace and follow the money. So no, if that's true for Bitcoin, then cash is an order of magnitude worse, because you can't really trace cash, but you can trace Bitcoin transactions. And he's also wrong about Bitcoin's biggest appeal, because the biggest appeal is that it's decentralized, meaning nobody owns it, which means we can't use it and influence the world policy like the petrodollar, which is, I think, a net benefit for the entire world. Plus, it's immutable, which means it cannot be changed, and there's a finite limited supply of Bitcoin. That's really the biggest draw.
Cryptocurrencies have the political support of the patriotic anarchists who are rooting for tax evasion. I hope we shut it down.
So let's just take a closer look at why Mr. Sherman wants to get rid of Bitcoin. Because remember that thing I talked about in the beginning of the video with bribing or lobbying? Well, it turns out there's a website called opensecrets.org where you can go on right now and see how much a politician was paid for by all these special interest groups. It's publicly disclosed, where it shows you all the donors of the campaign, and you can see in the top 100 list, some of his clients include names like American Bankers Association, Bank of America, Independent Bankers Community of America, Morgan Stanley Bank, UBS, which is the largest bank in Switzerland. There's hedge funds like BlackRock, credit card companies, and on it goes. And for his most recent election cycle in 2020, he's made over $450,000, which sounds like a lot of money, and it is for a single person. But how much money is that for all these billion-dollar corporations that are paying these politicians? Because most of these donations are between $5,000 to $10,000 on average, which is peanuts in comparison to how much these companies make. Now, the one thing I'll say about this is we don't know for sure 100% that Senator Brad Sherman was exposed, because it doesn't show us the details of all these donations and contributions. We don't know what it's for because it doesn't show us that info. But it's pretty obvious that big financial institutions like banks and credit card companies just don't like Bitcoin. So I'll leave it up to you to decide where that money's going. But I do think it's important to keep our politicians accountable, especially when you realize that they're being paid a lot of money to represent special interest and big business. But in the meantime, if you ever see something negative in the press about Bitcoin or Ethereum, especially if it's coming from a politician, just look at it from a different frame of reference. Maybe check out opensecrets.org, because things happen the way they do for a reason. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and go get up to $250 worth of free Bitcoin using this BlockFi link right here, blockfi.com/Andrei. Go get your 2 free stocks with Webull using the link down below. When you deposit $100, you can get up to $2,300 in value. Go track those stocks automatically with my spreadsheet, link down below in my Patreon. Love you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you back here on Monday, Friday, and sometimes Wednesday. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.